Dean Martin discovered a talented special needs child and provided life-changing opportunities that transformed not just one young life, but challenged an entire community's understanding of what it means to have extraordinary ability in an unexpected package, proving that true talent recognizes no barriers and that the greatest gifts often come disguised as challenges. It was Tuesday afternoon, September 15th, 1970, and Dean Martin was visiting the Sunshine Special Education Center in Burbank as part of his regular charitable activities. Dean had been quietly supporting the center for 2 years, not through publicized donations, but through personal visits, equipment purchases, and the kind of hands-on involvement that made a real difference in the lives of children with developmental disabilities. The Sunshine Center served 60 children between the ages of 5 and 18 who had various cognitive and physical challenges that prevented them from attending traditional schools. In 1970, public education for special needs children was limited, and facilities like Sunshine provided essential services that many families couldn't find anywhere else. Dean had originally become involved with the center through Dr. Patricia Henderson, a developmental psychologist who had approached him after learning about his private support for children's charities. Dr. Henderson had explained that while the center provided excellent care and education, the children rarely had exposure to arts and music programs that could help them express themselves and develop confidence. Dean's visits to Sunshine had become a monthly tradition that he genuinely looked forward to. Unlike the carefully orchestrated charity events that were part of his public life, his time at the center was relaxed, unscheduled, and focused entirely on connecting with children who responded to music and attention in ways that reminded Dean why he had fallen in love with performing in the first place. On this particular September afternoon, Dean was in the center's main activity room, sitting at an old upright piano that had been donated years earlier, playing simple psalms and encouraging the children to sing along. Some of the children participated enthusiastically, while others sat quietly and listened, and a few seemed more interested in the patterns of light coming through the windows than in the music itself. Dean had learned that each child at Sunshine had unique ways of experiencing and responding to the world, and that what might look like inattention or disinterest could actually be a different form of engagement that required patience and understanding to recognize. As Dean played "You Are My Sunshine," a song that had become a favorite during his visits, he noticed a boy sitting alone in the corner of the room, rocking back and forth and humming along with the melody. The boy appeared to be about 12 years old, with dark hair, and the kind of intense focus that suggested he was hearing something in the music that others might miss. What caught Dean's attention wasn't just that the boy was humming along. Many of the children did that. What was remarkable was that the boy was humming in perfect harmony, creating a sophisticated musical accompaniment to the simple melody Dean was playing. Dean continued playing while listening more carefully to the boy's humming. The harmonic intervals were complex and accurate, the kind of musical instincts that usually required years of training to develop. But this boy seemed to be creating advanced musical arrangements instinctively, without any apparent formal education. When Dean finished the song, the room erupted in the kind of enthusiastic applause that always followed his performances at Sunshine. But Dean was focused on the boy in the corner, who had stopped humming and was now rocking more intensely, as if the end of the music had created some kind of distress. Dean approached the boy carefully, understanding that children with developmental disabilities often had specific needs around personal space and interaction. "Hi," Dean said softly, sitting down on the floor a few feet away from the boy. "I'm Dean. I heard you humming along with the song. You have a beautiful voice." The boy didn't make eye contact, but he stopped rocking and seemed to be listening intently to Dean's words. Dr. Henderson approached and knelt down next to Dean. "This is Michael," she said quietly. "Michael Chen. He's been with us for 3 years. Michael has autism, and he's largely nonverbal, but he's shown some really interesting responses to music. Dean looked at Michael, who was still avoiding eye contact, but seemed calmer now that the room had grown quieter. "Michael, would you like me to play another song?" Dean asked. Michael didn't respond verbally, but he began rocking again, which Dr. Henderson explained was often a sign that he was interested and engaged. Dean returned to the piano and began playing "Fly Me to the Moon," one of his signature songs, but performed at a slower tempo and with simpler arrangements than usual. Almost immediately, Michael began humming again, but this time his contribution was even more sophisticated. Michael wasn't just following the melody, he was creating an entirely different musical line that complemented Dean's playing while adding layers of harmonic complexity that turned the simple song into something approaching a jazz arrangement. Dean was amazed. He had worked with professionally trained musicians who couldn't create the kind of spontaneous harmonic sophistication that Michael was producing effortlessly. Dean began to experiment, changing keys and tempos to see how Michael would respond. Each time Dean shifted the musical direction, Michael adapted immediately, creating new harmonic lines that perfectly complemented whatever Dean was playing. "Dr. Henderson," Dean said quietly while continuing to play, "how long has Michael been able to do this?" "We've noticed that he responds to music differently than our other children," Dr. Henderson replied. "But honestly, we don't have anyone on staff with enough musical training to understand what he's doing or how to help him develop whatever talent he might have." Dean stopped playing and turned to face Dr. Henderson fully. What Michael is doing isn't just responding to music. He's creating complex harmonic arrangements in real time. This is the kind of musical ability that most professional musicians spend years trying to develop. Dr. Henderson looked surprised. "Are you saying that Michael has real musical talent?" "I'm saying that Michael has extraordinary musical talent," Dean replied. "The question is what we can do to help him develop it." Dean spent the next hour working with Michael, playing different songs, and marveling at the boy's ability to create beautiful, complex musical responses to everything Dean presented. Michael never spoke, rarely made eye contact, and seemed most comfortable when he could rock back and forth while humming. But his musical instincts were remarkable. When it was time for Dean to leave, he made arrangements to speak privately with Dr. Henderson about Michael's situation and potential. "Tell me about Michael's family," Dean asked. "What are their circumstances, and what kind of support system does he have?" Dr. Henderson explained that Michael lived with his single mother, Linda Chen, who worked 2 jobs to pay for his care at Sunshine. Linda was a devoted mother who had exhausted her savings trying to find treatments and educational programs that might help Michael develop greater independence and communication skills. "Michael's mother is wonderful," Dr. Henderson said. "She's completely dedicated to him, but she's also completely overwhelmed. She's never been able to afford private therapies or specialized programs, and she's worried about what will happen to Michael when he becomes an adult." Dean asked about Michael's medical history and learned that while Michael's autism created significant challenges with communication and social interaction, he was physically healthy and had shown signs of intelligence in areas that were difficult to measure with standard testing. "Has anyone ever evaluated Michael's musical abilities specifically?" Dean asked. "No," Dr. Henderson admitted. "We don't have the resources for that kind of specialized assessment. We focus on basic life skills and communication, which is already more than we can handle with our current funding." Dean left Sunshine that day with a plan that would change not just Michael's life, but the trajectory of special needs education in their community. First, Dean arranged for Dr. Sarah Williams, a music therapist and professor at UCLA who specialized in working with children with developmental disabilities, to evaluate Michael's musical abilities. Dr. Williams had worked with several savant individuals who had extraordinary talents in specific areas, and Dean wanted a professional assessment of Michael's potential. Dr. Williams's evaluation, conducted over 3 sessions at Sunshine, confirmed what Dean had suspected. Michael had what she termed exceptional musical savant abilities, with perfect pitch, extraordinary harmonic instincts, and the ability to understand and reproduce complex musical structures after hearing them once. Michael's musical abilities are at a professional level, Dr. Williams told Dean. With proper instruction and opportunities to develop his talent, he could potentially have a career in music. But he's going to need very specialized teaching that takes into account his autism and his unique learning style. Dean's next step was to contact Linda Chen and explain what he had discovered about her son's musical talent. Linda was initially skeptical. She had been told so many times about therapies and programs that promised to help Michael that she had learned to be cautious about unrealistic hopes. But when Dean arranged for Linda to observe one of Dr. Williams's sessions with Michael, she was amazed to see her son creating music that she had never known he was capable of producing. "I always knew Michael loved music," Linda told Dean after the session, "but I thought it was just something that calmed him down. I had no idea he could actually create music like this." Dean offered to fund comprehensive music education for Michael, including private lessons with teachers who specialized in working with autistic children, access to professional quality instruments, and recording equipment that would allow Michael to develop his compositional abilities. But Dean's vision went beyond just helping Michael. He wanted to create something that would benefit other children with special needs who might have hidden talents that had never been recognized or developed. Dean proposed establishing the Sunshine Center Music Program, a comprehensive initiative that would provide music education and therapy for all of the center's children, while creating a model that could be replicated at other special education facilities. The program would include professional music teachers, state-of-the-art equipment, and most importantly, a philosophy that looked for ability rather than focusing only on disability. "Every child has some kind of talent," Dean explained to the center's board of directors. "Our job is to find those talents and give kids the chance to develop them. Michael's musical ability might be unusual, but I guarantee that every child in this center has something special that we just haven't discovered yet." The Sunshine Center Music Program launched 6 months later, with Dean as the primary funder and Linda Chen as the program coordinator, a position that allowed her to quit her 2 other jobs and focus entirely on helping special needs children discover their artistic potential. Michael became the program's first success story, but he wasn't the only one. Under the guidance of professional music teachers who understood how to work with children with various developmental challenges, several other students began showing remarkable abilities. Sarah Martinez, a girl with Down syndrome, demonstrated an exceptional ability to play percussion instruments and keep complex rhythms. David Thompson, who had severe cerebral palsy and limited speech, could compose beautiful melodies using adaptive computer technology. Maria Santos, who had been considered non-functional due to severe intellectual disabilities, could sing with perfect pitch and emotional expression that moved everyone who heard her. Michael's own development was extraordinary. Within a year of beginning formal music education, he was composing complete songs that combined his natural harmonic instincts with structured musical knowledge. His compositions were sophisticated enough that Dean began incorporating some of Michael's musical ideas into his own recordings, always giving Michael full credit as a co-composer. The first song that featured Michael's compositions, Sunshine Melody, became a minor hit and brought attention to the innovative work being done at the Sunshine Center. The song's success led to interviews and articles about the music program, which in turn inspired other communities to develop similar programs for children with special needs. But the most important success was Michael's personal growth. While he remained largely nonverbal and continued to face the challenges associated with autism, his involvement with music had given him a way to communicate and express himself that had dramatically improved his confidence and quality of life. Linda Chen often said that the music program had given her son not just an education, but an identity. Before the program, Michael was defined by his limitations, she explained. Now he's known for his talent. People see him as a musician who happens to have autism, rather than an autistic child who happens to like music. The Sunshine Center music program also changed the way the broader community thought about individuals with developmental disabilities. When local schools and organizations heard Michael perform, or when they learned about the program's other success stories, they began to reconsider their own assumptions about what people with special needs could achieve, with appropriate support and opportunities. Dean continued his monthly visits to Sunshine, but now, instead of just entertaining the children, he was collaborating with them as fellow musicians. His sessions with Michael became informal masterclasses where they would work together on compositions, arrangements, and performance techniques. Michael has taught me as much about music as I've taught him, Dean said in a 1973 interview about the program. He hears things that I miss, and he approaches music with a purity and creativity that isn't limited by conventional thinking. Working with him has made me a better musician. The program's success led to the establishment of similar initiatives at special education centers throughout California and eventually across the country. The Sunshine model became a recognized approach to arts education for children with developmental disabilities, emphasizing ability recognition over deficit focus. Michael Chen went on to become a professional composer and performer, eventually recording several albums of original compositions that showcased his unique musical perspective. He never overcame all of the challenges associated with his autism, but his musical career gave him independence, purpose, and recognition as an artist, rather than just a person with a disability. Years later, when people asked Dean about his role in discovering and nurturing Michael's talent, he always emphasized that the real discovery had been learning to look beyond labels and limitations, to see the extraordinary potential that exists in every human being. Michael didn't need me to give him talent, Dean would say. He needed someone to recognize the talent he already had and provide him with the opportunities to develop it. The lesson isn't about how special Michael is, though he certainly is special. The lesson is about how many talented people we overlook because we make assumptions about what ability looks like. If this story of recognizing hidden talent and providing life-changing opportunities moved you, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Share this with anyone who needs to know that extraordinary ability can exist in unexpected packages and that every person deserves the chance to discover and develop their unique gifts. Have you ever witnessed someone's hidden talent being discovered and nurtured? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to ring that notification bell for more incredible stories about the moments when recognition and opportunity combine to change lives forever.